This is our first episode of Mold Talks Docs. And what better way to christen this than having Dr. Jess, the mold queen herself. Dr. Jess, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I did not realize I was the first honored guest. I feel so special. Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've seen our Mold Talks podcast, but basically the whole premise is we're showing people that it's not such a rare occurrence to get sick, to have mold in their homes, causing, exacerbating, et cetera, all these symptoms and illness, et cetera. So it's been great. It's been a great journey. It's been very popular. And we thought, well, we have all of these people that get to, see similar circumstances. Now it's time to bring doctors into the mix so that people can get the information that they need to actually get better and do something about it, right? So excited and honored for you to be here today. And of course, we're going to learn about Dr. Jess and everything she offers and how she helps people. And I think that's what we want to cover today.
Sure. You got the house, I got the body, right?
That's it. The dream team. So I have heard these famous words called kill, bind, sweat, right?
Yeah, you sure have. It's I actually did not mean for that to get as popular as it was. And is. I did not mean to. I hashtagged it online on social media and everyone loved it. I mean, it's so sexy sounding and catchy. What the heck does kill, bind, sweat mean? And I was serious though. It really is a great way to help the body get rid of mold. And as I've gone on in my career, in my own health journey and helping other people with their health journeys, I have realized that kill, bind, sweat is sort of a second tier treatment for people most of the time. And that's because some of these people who, as you know, Michael, if they're in a moldy home or a water damaged home, they can be really ill, seriously, systemically ill. And so you don't want to really jump right into killing things, right? So most of the time I have to prep them for kill, bind, sweat. Once their body is prepped, this means that you can take an herbal antimicrobial to help kill off things that might be running in the body with mold, because it never runs alone. It's always got candida or some sort of bacterial infection with it. Right? There's frenemies involved.
Frenemies.
And so frenemies, yeah, exactly. And so, killing is getting rid of a lot of the candida or bacterial infections that run with that help run the immune system down. Binding and sweating are really what get the mold spores and hyphae, to be honest with you. And that's because we've come to know that you don't just breathe mold spores in, they actually can be absorbed through the skin. And so they're living in your tissue, in your fascia, in your lymph, in your nasal cavity. So any way that your body's emunctories can get rid of those things is a positive.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's very important. I love your program and everything about it. I've read all about it and it's very exciting. Let's talk about why, right? Why are we doing this? Why am I helping people with their home? Why are you helping people with their body? Obviously, there's a big need there. So let's dive into that. Like, how big is this need? How many people are you seeing, that, or what percentage of people that you're seeing, are they dealing with mold exposure?
It's overwhelming actually, and it's my least favorite part of the job, to tell people they have mold in their homes. I mean, it's people are attached to their things. They're attached to their furniture and their pictures and their canvases and all that, and I have to tell them it's not okay to have that anymore. So it's overwhelming, the numbers. We have to say that too. I don't know about you, but for me, it's something I always check in people now, because I know how common water damage is in modern construction and homes. You're talking, 40-45% of current homes have water damage, and about 84-85% of past homes or homes previous had water damage. And so that's a huge number according to one study. And about 20-25% of the population is sensitive to that with a genetic haplotype or genetic predisposition, we'll say. But I will give a disclaimer and say that anyone who lives in a water damaged home long enough will get sick, regardless of your genetics. In my opinion, it will shut down your drainage pathways. So for people out there who are listening, it's really the way we're building homes. And it's every single modern construction of homes, pretty much, that I know of. It's 99% of homes that are built with toxic ingredients, toxic adhesives, paints, carpets. All these things matter, and how quickly and how readily mold is attracted to the home if there's any dampness or moisture. And so, I always check it in my people now. I will say that a lot of the testing is nuanced. So you have to match the symptomatology up with what you're seeing on the test. But it is overwhelming how much this is missed. I can't even give you a number. It is.
Wow. And when you tie that all together with the statistics you just mentioned, I mean, it's almost like every single home is going to have some level of mold that could impact you. And if you are part of that 25% of the population, that you're going to probably realize pretty quickly that there's mold in the environment. It's almost like, where do you go? Forget today's market, right? Because today's market's going to change. There's going to be more properties available. Even when there is, where do you go? That's going to build, where you're going to find a healthy environment. It's almost like you have to build one, right? You have to, find something that has good bones, that has as little problems as possible, but you have to go in there knowing there's going to be some issues and be okay with, investing and fixing those things, because you got to create the oasis for you. And that's what I've noticed. And that's what people are doing. And that's where I starting to see people create these healthier environments.
I agree with you, because you can't count on what's out there already. And, there's so many people that are canary in coal mines that they react. And what am I to believe? That, their body is always wrong, or that there's something wrong with modern day construction. And I choose to believe that those people are sensitive and they're warning all the rest of us what's bad for us. And that they're saying, hey, my body can't handle this. It's probably not good for your body either, but your body is able to mitigate the stress of it, so you don't know. And I think those canary in a coal mines, even though it's so difficult for them to find somewhere safe, they're telling all of us there's something wrong with the way we're building our homes.
Yeah, no, they're waking us up. They're waking us up to the truth. And the truth of the matter is that we're not aware of these things that are causing our decline in health. And we need to be, right? And they are helping with that awareness. And people like you and I are shouting this from the rooftops, probably more loudly than people would like. But, the reality of it is, like, how else do we get better unless we come together and face this as a society, right? So we kind of covered why this is so important. Let's talk about how, right? So we talked a little bit about kill, bind, sweat. Before we even get to that, right? Obviously, people know that there's testing methodologies available for the home. They can kind of take that correlation. For those listening that may not know, right? You have Hermi, which tests the dust. PCR technology tells us what's going on per milligram of dust for 36 different species. How much is actually there? Forgetting the score for a second, but just having that data and looking at that data can be helpful. Then you got to find out where the sources are that's creating those particulate that you're testing for. And so that gets done with a combination of visual inspection, air testing, swab testing, et cetera, kind of giving you this roadmap of which areas of the home are creating these levels of contamination that are then getting inside the body, both through the skin, inhalation, et cetera. So now that we have that, we can actually correlate that with what's going on in the body, right? So I'd love for you to dive into that.
Yeah, that's actually, when I said mold testing is nuanced, I mean in the body, but there are a number of different ways. And you have to have a patient that can afford some of this testing. I wish that it was covered by insurance. It's not, guys. This is not even recognized in mainstream conventional medicine as a problem. So, really it's super helpful for people like us, doctors and, remediators, for us to know for sure if this is what's making you sick. And the only way we know for sure is if we find the spores in the home and then we correlate those with the same species of mold that can make that mycotoxin. Because, one species of mold can make multiple different mycotoxins, and one mycotoxin can be made from different species of mold. So it can get kind of complicated. And so we need to be able to match up those volatile organic compounds called mycotoxins that they make in the house. We need to correlate that in your body. And so we can do that a number of different ways. There's a blood test that they can look at to see if you're making antibodies against mold. And that really lets us know if you're sick and your immune system is reacting to the mold. Oftentimes I find that, through the science of looking at the pathophysiology of mold, a lot of people's immune systems are so suppressed if they've lived chronically in mold that I worry that they can't even make antibodies in a blood test to mold. So at that point, you have to think about urine testing. And that is very nuanced too. I have seen very ill people not urinate out mold spores to make a positive test. You have to prep their body, get them sweating, get them pooping normally, get them urinating normally, get their bile movement going properly, because mold can definitely hide there too. And then they'll start urinating out mold spores for you to see a positive test, right? So there's a number of different ways that we can see. There's also Dr. Shoemaker's blood work that looks at markers of the immune system, indirect markers of the immune system that we know mold can mess with.
That's awesome. So there's an array of tests. Of course, some of them nuanced, but when you're looking at it as a whole, right, and you see the correlation, that's when it really starts to make sense. And of course, you have to be careful and make sure that you're getting what you need to get the data, because if you're blocked up, you're not, urinating properly, you're not getting these things coming out and showing in the test, it can make things a lot trickier. So we know we have mold in our house. We know we have mold in our body. We know we're impacted. We're taking the right steps. We're going to remediate, create a healthy environment. And now I need to handle the body. That's where Killbine Sweat's going to come in, right? And so,
Right.
can you explain kind of the program? And then I know you have an amazing app, which we'll get to after too, which I can't wait to talk about and dive into. But when someone comes to you and they're ready and they have all the data, how are you working with them?
Absolutely. So I will say, normally I don't see one-on-ones anymore, but I can do a lot in my app. But I can still give you the roadmap to what you need to do to heal mold. And remember, there are different gradients to this. Michael, like you've seen the sick people probably with what we
Yeah.
call chronic inflammatory response syndrome, where their immune system is just gone haywire because they've lived in a water damaged building for so long. Their body, they're the sensitive genes, right? And then there's all different ways. There are people very sick, and there are people who are starting to have symptoms. Maybe they can't hold their urine all night long. Maybe they're randomly short of breath, right? And they're starting to show symptoms. So there's a very big gradient here, guys. There's just not a black, white, yes answer all the time. So I really have to look at how sick the patient is to evaluate what they can handle, right? They have to
Yeah,
look at
makes
the
sense.
gradient. Yeah. Some people can handle more than others, and that takes an educated approach to know what to do. But in general, if you don't have a practitioner, what can you do? You say, oh my gosh, 2 years ago, I remember water damage in my home. And now I have these weird autoimmune like symptoms that no one can pinpoint. What the heck do I do? Well, first of all, I'd like you to screen your body and ask if your normal functions of your organs are happening on a daily basis. Like, are you sleeping okay? Do you wake up rested? Do you have energy at all throughout the day? If not, we need to look at your energy pathway, mitochondria. If you can't handle alcohol, you are a cheap drunk, you can't deal with caffeine or coffee, and you can't fast, that's your liver. And that's probably 1 out of 3 people I see. Mold will get the mitochondria in the liver first. Okay. People, if you don't have bowel movements, you're constipated, you're holding on to toxins, right? I can't give people a Killbine Sweat when all this is going on. So
Yeah.
if you're one of those sick people, you need to really be able to screen your body and see where your body is kind of acting out and kind of warning you, if you will, that something's wrong. You need to address that and kind of work on that as well. The other thing is really the key to all environmental science is avoidance. And so it's easy for me to say because I don't live in a water damaged home. But really, you guys, that's the number one way to heal, is to avoid the place that's making you ill. And, if you're leaving your house and you feel better and you're going back and you feel worse, your body's warning you. Okay. Sometimes it's really hard to heal people, whether they're still in that water damaged exposure. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So first thing you guys can do, get a sauna, invest in a sauna, get something that you can sweat, really profusely sweat. Sweating really helps get rid of mold spores. Take a good toxin binder. You guys know what this is. It's things like zeolite and bentonite clay, or diatomaceous earth, or, fulvic and humic acid even work for people. And you can take that around the time that you're going to sweat, or get in a hot bath, get in a sauna. And that will really help you. Even if you live in mold, a lot of people can still feel a little bit better, even doing these things while they're in, not everyone, but a lot of people can get
Yeah.
better while
Yeah.
still living in mold. You've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Especially people who can't afford to do everything right away. Maybe they have 10, 15 different problems inside their home that they need to correct, and they can only afford a couple of them, 3 or 4 of them, let's say. And, they're going to need to still continue to heal. They're going to need to do something, right? So it's really important to just take all the steps you possibly can. You can't get out of the environment, no problem, but you gotta do something, right? You got to give the body relief, or it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. So, my philosophy is do what you can, and I know that some people will be able to do better than others, or more than others in one shot, but that doesn't mean that, you shouldn't take the right steps. For what's interesting about me is in our company, I would say we get these reports all the time with like 10 to 15 different areas inside their home that need to be fixed. And I would say 90% of those people do not do all 10 to 15 areas one shot. They don't. They can't afford it. It's like it's just not feasible, right? So they'll do 3 or 4 or 5, right? And they'll take the right steps, and they'll see someone like you that'll put them on a program, get them what they need to start to heal, and they do, and maybe they're not 110%, but they're making the steps towards their journey, and they're taking, they're walking or crawling before they're running, and that's okay, and it's just do what you can.
Yeah, that's actually one of the tenets of the 4 agreements. Always do your best. You're pretty much saying the same thing. Some days when you're sick, or you can't afford things like you want to, you can do what you can, or only do your best.
Yeah.
And that's what people should aim for every day. That way you feel good about yourself, and it's hopeful to hear you say that you see clients who actually get better when they're in a water damaged house. I do too.
Yeah, I do. And like I said, you're always going to have some level of mold, but can't build a bubble around the house. Thank God we don't have to. The reality of it is reducing it, right? You're reducing the exposure when you're making health choices, right? And let's say you're having sugar, and sugar is not great for you. What's the first step you take? You reduce it, right? And you take less, and you start to feel the difference. Before you once you're ready, you completely cut it out, right? And you kind of make those baby steps. But health is a journey, right? And we try to get better each and every day. And we do everything we can each and every day. And that's how we get better over time, right? And so I always let people know, like, look, I know it's overwhelming. You think you need to have zero mold, and I get that. But the reality of it is, like, just do what you can, and you'll start to see the results.
Yeah, mold is actually natural part of the ecosystem out in nature. It's people always say, people who don't understand mold illness and water damaged buildings say there's mold everywhere. Mold is part of the environment. To which I say, yeah, and we built these houses that don't have proper airflow. They're not anything like the environment, and that's the problem. So, I don't know if we're ever going to have zero mold,
Right.
right? We have controlled ecosystem that's more mirrored like nature, and
Yeah.
then that was what will keep us well, I think.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, as far as that, it's very interesting because I hear that comment all the time. Mold's everywhere. So this person can't be sick from mold or whatnot. The
Yeah.
reality of it is, like, the levels of mold in our house, I think the EPA said is 5 times higher. I think that's a generous number. I think it's much, much worse.
Wow.
But for most of our homes, I mean, the air that we're breathing is a lot more toxic than the air outside. Right. So it's no secret that if you have a water damaged building, and you're breathing in hundreds of thousands of particles more with each breath than you would normally take outside, where there's an infinity volume of air, by the way. Yeah, you're going to feel it, right? So it's reducing the amount of particles getting into the body, is really the real secret. So you do what you can. You start with the worst areas, and work your way down the list, and I think that approach has worked well, for many of my clients. Of course, you always get the extreme cases that need to do, everything one shot. And if you have the resources to do that and it's feasible for you, go for it. I think either way, just like anything else, just make the right steps towards improvement, and it'll get there.
Yeah, I agree. It's a journey.
It's a journey. So I'd love to learn more about your app for those listening. So you have this amazing app, and it's because you couldn't duplicate yourself 100 times to help all these people, right? So, tell us
Can you
the,
feel that, Michael? Do you understand what I'm saying? It
I
sounds
feel
like
that.
you might.
I do understand. I also struggle with how do I duplicate myself. As you know, we mentioned earlier, I'm creating this school right now, and so I'm pretty excited about that. It's a very similar approach to creating an app and being able to give people the resources. So first off, what led you down the path to create this app? I'm pretty sure you know the answer. I may have already said it, but
Um, Exhaustion. Kind of. I'm kind of serious and kind of joking, but that's one of the reasons, because people don't understand when you are actually and truly helping to heal people, like really truly doing that work, guiding that patient. You don't, I don't really do anything. Their body does all the work, right? I
right.
just move things out of the way so the body can do what it's supposed to do. Let's be real. So once you actually truly do that for people and you get them to release what doesn't belong there, you're really not just a doctor. You're a therapist and a counselor and a nutritionist, and you're really crying with them a lot of times in the hour consult, and that's very very draining. And it's also, you're repeating yourself quite a bit on one-on-ones.
Sure.
There's foundational pillars that every person needs to know to heal, because bodies are very bio-individual, but there are foundations as well. And so I was repeating myself in those foundations with those people every single appointment. And I thought, gosh, everyone deserves to know that their body can reverse disease and heal. Everyone deserves to know this information. How can I broadcast it out to a bigger audience, besides just this one-on-one? Because they don't really need me. They just need a guide to show their body how to do the work. I mean, honestly, a lot of doctors are going to get mad that I say that, but it's true. So, I mean, how in the world do we live without modern medicine for thousands of years? I don't know. So, really and honestly, I created this app because I felt like people are smart enough, intelligent enough, clever enough to understand how their body works. No one knows their body better than them. No doctor knows your body better than the person living in it. No one. And so ultimately, if you can learn to trust that body intuition with understanding how the body works, a proper education about how the body works as a whole and what truly makes us sick, then I feel like people can do it themselves. And I'm watching them do it on the app. And that's what made me create it. Is I really wanted to help. I wanted to tell people, you're not sick because there's something wrong with your body. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're sick because society and the environment is broken and toxic, and it's not you. And it upset me so much that my patients thought that they were just toxic and diseased, and there was something like sinfully wrong with them from birth. And it's a flat out lie.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot of components to this. There's not only the physiological parts of this, but the mental parts of it, the PTSD, the depression, right? There's all these things that happen. And, I think a lot of it is born out of the fact that nobody knows what's going on. They go to 100 different doctors that tell them all different types of things that finally pass them off to a psychiatrist to say, you're just probably crazy. Going through all of that and not having the right answers and not feeling well while you're doing that all at the same time, who the heck is going to be happy? I would be depressed too. So when you look at all of that, it's a societal issue. It's a lack of knowledge across the society, including our medical community, our builders, our contractors, right? The people that build us these safe havens, these boxes of toxicity that we live in. It's a pretty sad story.
All
And
of it.
I'm glad you have this app now that helps people and gives people the resources. What are some of the things you can expect if you join the app right now?
Absolutely. So, you know, you can book a consult on there. You can't book it with me. I know that's going to be the most popular question that people want to know, is if I'm seeing people one-on-one. And right now I'm not. I will totally let people know if I am, but you can book with doctors that I have vetted myself and that work on the platform with me, and they know the information and they know the foundational tenets that we are teaching. They know the kill vine sweat protocol, all that stuff. So you can book consults with doctors. I have an MD and an ND who work for me. You can actually write in and ask us different disease states and has to be educated on them. And we'll create something for you called a root cause quickie, where we go research and find not just root cause reasons, but also integrative solutions for people with references. And then we have a community forum. So we decided we didn't want to be censored on Facebook. So we created our own forum. And mold is one of the topics on there. Mold and moldy homes is a topic in the forum. I film professional courses on there. People can request what they'd like with that too. And then we also have blogs that are released every day on a daily basis, and then webinars. I do a webinar every 2 weeks with everyone for an hour to hour and a half, where I do pull people on for consults with that and to teach everyone else, because ultimately a consult with someone else helps everyone. And
Sure.
so people ask me questions in the forum, people ask me questions in webinars, so it is interactive. It is.
That's awesome. So it's a wealth of information to help kickstart your health journey and get the resources you need, the support you need, right, with other members in the community as well. And that's awesome. And so, what if I'm going on my app store right now? It's on Apple and Samsung.
So it's actually, we're creating an app on the App Store, but I should have clarified, it is a website app.
The website
So
app, cool.
yeah, so we will have an iOS and Android app eventually. But right now it's just on the site. So it's app.drjessmd.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you're listening to this, you definitely want to sign up for Dr. Jess's app. It is a wealth of information, resources, community as well to start your health journey.
And I think, another reason to sign up too is because when Michael releases his mold education and remediation course, I'm sure that it will be a staple in our store. So
yes, very much looking forward to that. By the way, Dr. Jess, we got some developments. The school is going to be done with construction on Friday this week, so I'll be flying up mid-April to start filming all that stuff, and we'll get that up in a jiffy, get it on your store as well. I know that's going to be very, very helpful for people. For those who may not understand what we're talking about, I am developing a school, specifically one that's going to help teach clients how to remediate their own homes. If that's something that they need to do due to resources, or maybe you're handy and you need to put your resources to use elsewhere, just to be able to do it properly is so vital. And there's really not many resources out there, if any at all, that can teach you to do that. So that'll be, I don't even know where it's going to live on my ecosystem yet, but Dr. Jess will have it on her app too.
yeah, it's gonna be awesome, you guys, because Michael has personally taught me. I mean, I'm a doctor for the body. I don't know about all the house stuff. So I personally learned from you, and I hope to continue to do so. And yeah, so you'll see, you only get it on Wellness Plus right now, hopefully, and through Michael.
Exactly. Looking forward to it. Wellness Plus is awesome. I personally know clients of mine that utilize Wellness Plus, and it's really, really, really helped them. So Dr. Jess, thank you for creating that. I'm glad the exhaustion that you had turned into something really amazing. And anything else we're missing in terms of, some tips and tricks people can utilize to, get better or identify if mold's an issue, or anything like that?
Yeah, there mold symptoms and just biotoxin, water damage, building symptoms overlap in general. So, pins and needles sensation, shortness of breath, not able to hold your urine at night are some of the symptoms you want to look for. But be sure and like you said, match up what the body and the home say. And then just realize that you guys can heal. It's really helpful to get your energy back, to really work on your sleep, and really help your liver out during these times with mold. And then, like I said, opening drainage pathways and sweating and believing that you actually can return back to normal. That's a big part of it, is mindset too. So I just want to throw that in there as well. We said avoidance and everything else, but we didn't talk about mindset. So believing that your body can do the work and heal is a big part of healing.
Yeah, no, if you have some time a little bit, we can dive into mindset, because I have the same kind of approach. You can't come in hopeless. You have to come in with hope. Usually when you find someone like you and me, like you found somebody that can really help you. And I think that's really important, to not lose hope, even when it's daunting. When your doctor's telling you, you got to throw some things away, when I'm telling you, you got to rip your house apart. I know that it leaves you feeling a little hopeless, but just have hope that you have the answers and you can do something about it. And like we said earlier, take those steps. You don't have to do it all at once.
Yeah, I love that. That's really important. It's easy, it is easy for us to say because we don't have to do that. But I'm telling you, you will be better off for everything that you're doing in the long run. Like your body will thank you.
Your body will thank you. And I've been there. I've owned 2 homes so far in my life. Both of them had mold, no surprise. I don't think you can find one that doesn't. And I had to remediate them. And it's interesting about that is, especially the first one that I bought, everything checked out. I mean, the home inspection was great. I knew that there were some issues there, just what I saw visually that the home inspector missed. So I went ahead and decided that I put together a budget. I think it was like 50,000 or something, right? So I bought the home, put in a budget of 50,000 for renovations, mold remediation, et cetera. And I ended up having to spend 100. I had to borrow money on top of the money that I already had planned to borrow and overextend myself. So it happens to me too. And why is because none of us have X-ray vision. As I started opening things up, I was like, okay, yeah, all the windows now need to be replaced. All the areas around the windows need to be remediated. So, it happens to the best of us, unforeseen circumstances that, unfortunately can wreak havoc financially. But, it was for the best. When I knew that myself and my family was going to live in there, and I obviously knew the potential that it could have being in a moldy building for not only myself, my kids, my wife. So it was what had to get done. So it's unfortunate. It can be a financially costly endeavor, but I obviously made it work and figured it out and never looked back.
Yeah. So low tox prefabs all the way.
Low tox prefabs all the way. That would be a nice.
That's the remedy, hopefully. No, I think we covered everything. Other than that, I hope everyone learned a little bit.
Yeah, Dr. Jess, thank you for coming on and spending some time with me today, and christening the Mold Talks Docs and having the first one. I know I always learn a lot talking to you, and I hope everyone else listening learned a lot too. Go ahead and check out Dr. Jess, not only on Instagram, but go ahead and check out her website, her app, and everything else, because she is a wealth of information. She's part of the Mold Squad, and she really does understand how to help people who are dealing with mold exposure. Dr. Jess, thank you for all that you do.
No, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
All right, talk soon.